It was the day he'd been dreading, the day he'd hoped would never come, because today was the day he'd learned he wasn't getting away with it. At court, the walls were cold, the judge was colder. And when the judge read his sentence, the courtroom fell silent. His mother cried, his friends disappeared, and he thought his life was over. But what happened next would prove the world wrong. This is the story of how one man went from convicted felon to multimillionaire CEO. When he was just a boy, he never imagined he'd end up in this courtroom. He didn't wake up wanting to be a criminal. No one dreams of throwing their life away. But when you're born into chaos, sometimes chaos feels like the only option. Bills piled high. Opportunities? None. But on the streets, there was always someone offering a way out. The plan seemed simple. A quick job. Easy money. No one gets hurt. But in one bad moment, it all collapsed. 7 years. That was the price. 7 years behind bars to think about every bad decision that led him here. The heavy metal door slammed shut. The cold steel bars shut him off from the world. He heard the echoes of his own sobs. As he made his way through the prison yard, past the shadows and the stairs, he realized the weight of the sentence. 7 years. 7 years to undo the choices that had brought him to this point. His lawyer's words rang in his ears. "Don't lose hope," she had said. "You may have lost your freedom for now, but you haven't lost everything." Her voice was like a flickering candle in the darkness, a reminder that even in the depths of despair, hope can flicker. He knew she was right. But in that moment, the only thing he felt was despair. In the unforgiving environment of prison, survival was a daily battle. Each day was a test of resilience. He faced the harsh reality of prison life head-on. He endured the taunts of hardened criminals who saw weakness, as a liability. He navigated the complex social hierarchy where every interaction could either earn respect or land you in solitary confinement. But amidst the turmoil, a glimmer of hope emerged. An older inmate with a surprisingly kind face and eyes that held a lifetime of stories took him under his wing. "You're here anyway," the inmate said, his voice a gruff whisper. "You might as well leave a better man than you came in." This unexpected guidance was like a lifeline in a sea of despair. It hinted at the possibility of redemption, suggesting that prison didn't have to be the end of his story. It could be a chapter. With newfound determination, he began poring over the prison library's collection. The musty smell of old books became his daily aroma. He devoured books on business, leadership, psychology, soaking up knowledge like a sponge. As the months passed, his thirst for learning grew. The prison walls couldn't contain his expanding mind. His journey wasn't easy. There were days when the weight of his situation threatened to crush him. The solitude of his cell echoed with the ghosts of his past mistakes. But he refused to surrender. In the dimly lit weight room, he lifted not just weights, but his spirits. Each push-up, each curl was a testament to his indomitable will. He turned the limited space into his gym, the cold metal into motivation. He wrote, he planned, he strategized. With each page he filled, he built a roadmap to a future he wanted to create. Even when hope seemed like a distant star, he kept writing, kept planning, kept dreaming. Time went by in a blur of books, weights, and handwritten notes. The prison walls still stood, but they now enclosed a transformed man ready to face the world again. The day he walked out those gates was a mix of emotions. Freedom never felt so heavy. It was a double-edged sword. On one side, the promise of a fresh start, the chance to rewrite his story. On the other, the daunting task of facing a world that might not be ready to embrace him. He stepped out into the blinding light, squinting against the glare both physical and metaphorical. As he took his first steps as a free man, he knew the real journey was just beginning. The world outside had changed while he was gone. Technology had advanced. Markets had shifted. and the skills he once had were now rusty and outdated. He walked tall, shouldering the weight of his past and the hope for his future. But the world didn't make it easy for him. Job interviews became a battlefield. He faced skepticism, pitying looks, and polite but firm rejections. The familiar sting of rejection cut deep. He was reminded of his past with every "we all'll be in touch," and every handshake that lingered just a little too long. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and still he searched. He slept on a friend's couch, his belongings packed in a backpack. He ate instant noodles, their cheap saltiness a poor substitute for home-cooked meals. The whispers followed him. Ex-convict, they said, a label heavier than any prison chain. Doubt gnawed at him. Was his mentor wrong? Was it too much to hope for a second chance? The old streets he once knew so well now seemed alien. The faces had changed. The opportunities had vanished. Just when his hope was flickering, a voice from the past reached out. It was an old boss, gruff but fair, who remembered him for his work ethic. "If no one will hire you, hire yourself," his old boss said, handing him a business card. Those words were like a shot of adrenaline. He rented a desk in a shared office space, its low rent allowing him to save every penny. He put on a suit, not to impress anyone, but to impress himself. He was his own boss now. He was accountable to no one but himself. He started small, mowing lawns, cleaning offices. The work was hard, often thankless. But he didn't care. Each dollar he earned was a step toward independence. He met his first client, a middle-aged woman who owned a local bookstore. She needed someone to clean the shelves after hours. He saw it as more than just a job. He saw it as a chance to prove himself. Slowly, things began to turn. His reputation for honesty and hard work spread. More clients came. His phone, once silent, started ringing. He hired others like him, those with similar backgrounds, giving them a chance that they wouldn't find elsewhere. They worked together, not just as employees, but as a community of second chances. He didn't forget his roots. He provided mentorship, guidance, and sometimes just a listening ear to those who were struggling to find their footing. One evening, sitting in his small office, surrounded by the hum of activity, he had a realization. He was no longer defined by his past. He was creating his future. He had gone from being known as an ex-convict to being respected as a businessman. He was the second-chance CEO. Media outlets picked up his story. Government agencies sought his collaboration. He traveled, not as a fugitive, but as a speaker, sharing his story to inspire others. His life was a testament to the power of perseverance. From a single desk in a shared office to a thriving enterprise with multiple locations, his company became a beacon of hope, not just for him, but for many others. His past was a scar, but it wasn't his identity. He had taken something that could have broken him and made it his strength. So if you're facing your own battles, know this: your story isn't over until you decide it is. Don't let your past be your prison. Let it be your motivation. As he addressed an audience of young entrepreneurs, he looked out at the sea of eager faces and smiled. He saw himself in them, the hope, the dreams, the challenges. His journey from a prison cell to the boardroom wasn't just about success. It was about resilience, redemption, and rewriting your own future. Your past doesn't define your future. You do.